Hi all, Terry here, back again with another video, because God is so awesome. All things are possible with God, right? So, it has been a few weeks since my last video, mainly because of the surgery that I had. It's taking way longer than I expected to heal, but the doctor says I'm about right on schedule, and I need to give myself another week to week and a half. I'm just not used to this kind of uh, lengthy healing time. I've had major surgeries that didn't take this long. So, well, anyway, I hope everyone who's celebrating the holidays is enjoying them and making the time with family and friends, quality time of love and joy, making special time. So, well, anyway, the reason for this video is a dream that I had on December 11th. I woke up from the dream around 2:25 a.m. I'm going to try my best to describe the dream, and then I'll give the interpretation that the Father gave me right away after it, and he gave me the rest of it right away the next day. So here's the dream. I was sort of a bystander or outsider and not really being a part of what I was seeing in most of the dream. So I saw a large domed arena, but it was chain linked fencing was the enclosure was made of. There were rock walled sections on three sides on the inside, and from the outside the shape was circular, but now on the inside the rock walled parts made a triangular shape. The rock walls were held up by mesh netting, kind of like if the rock walls were along an interstate roadway where they have cut through the hills and the mountainous regions to make the road. If you've ever driven on an interstate through the mountains, you probably know what I'm talking about. How they have that mesh netting holding up the rock that they've cut through. Anyway, along the back two sides of the triangle rock walls, there were two long lines of teenagers forming straight lines. They were teens who were in detention. So this was like an adolescent detention rehabilitation lockup. These two long lines of teens started at a point, like the point of the triangle. Then each line went down one side of the triangle, forming the two sides of the triangle. Behind each line was a large rock wall. In front of the lines, with some distance between, was the straight rock wall that formed the bottom straight line of the triangle. If you can picture that. About midway up the height of the rock wall, there was a shelf that came out, and from that shelf it seemed to be the level where all the people were standing. On that level, on the straight shelf, there was a man who was the group leader, he was an artist, and he was welding a metal sculpture in front of the large straight rock wall, while all the teens who were standing in the straight lines watched. While I was also observing all of this, I noticed that in the middle of each of the two lines of teens, there was a big 7-foot tall, short-haired brown bear standing upright on their hind legs, one bear in each line, 2 bears total. Then I looked back toward the group leader artist, who was almost finished with his sculpture, and I saw a large 8-foot tall, shaggy, long-haired black bear standing on his hind legs in front of and near the rock wall behind the artist's sculpture. This bear looked fierce, with fiery eyes, long teeth, and long claws. Then the artist finished his sculpture and took off his welding mask and looked at the teens and said that this would help reform them, and it was for their redemption. Then, while the teens were applauding, I went to the group leader artist and asked, "Aren't you afraid the bear will destroy your work?" As he was answering me no, the black, shaggy, fierce bear came from behind and began shredding the sculpture. The group leader and I went to the 2 lines of teens. He, at the point where the lines met at the front or top of the triangle. I kind of got back to observing at that point, but I worried about what the brown bears would do. Then the brown bears went to the front of the lines of the teens, like if they were going to protect the teens. But then they looked at each other and then ran to the rock wall, the straight one, behind the sculpture, and began tearing up the rock wall, helping the black bear. Then all the teens broke formation, and there was just chaos. Then I woke up, wondering what could be done. So, that was the dream. When I woke up, I just laid in bed for a minute thinking about this dream. And I wanted to go back to sleep. So I closed my eyes, and I heard in my spirit, "Get up and write it down." So I did. After writing it, I turned off the light and laid back down and started getting the interpretation before I went back to sleep. It is very profound, very deep, and it is from the Father. I got the rest of the interpretation the next morning, right away, with the first cup of coffee. So here's the interpretation. The chain-linked arena is the world, the third dimension that we humans are trapped in, thus the teens in detention. The rock wall is nature, and the natural landscape, the rock walls. The mesh netting holding the rock walls is how mankind tries to manipulate and contain nature. The circular shape of the outside is an indication of the fullness of Jehovah's plan being fulfilled. How everything comes full circle, you know. And the triangle shape of the inside is the triune of Jehovah. Also, how man and the enemy is, that also. And also that the enemy copies the things of God the Father. The group leader artist represents those people of the world who control the rest of us, or those who are in cohorts with the enemy forces to do the enemy's bidding. The elite of our world, the deep state, or even the church leaders in control, the Vatican, the Pope, the Black Pope, etc. The sculpture, meant to help reform or redeem, represents man's works to redeem himself or works for salvation. All the things men say one must do to be saved, when Jesus did it all on the cross. The black shaggy bear represents Jesus, Yeshua. He has long hair, as he most likely was a Nazarite with no razor meeting his head until he began his ministry when he was baptized by John the Baptist. His fierceness was because when he returns, he will come as a lion, not as a sacrificial lamb, or as the sacrificial lamb that he was when he was here on earth before. He destroys the sculpture in the dream because Jesus tears down the works that man does for salvation, because Jesus is the only way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes unto the Father but by him. The two short-haired brown bears represent two of the vices the Father, Jehovah, will use to bring in the prophecy of his word to completion. One bear is nature. He will use natural forces, even ones that man has tried to manipulate or duplicate or control. The other brown bear represents technology and man's advancements. Jehovah will use man's own devices against him. There will be wars and rumors of wars, power, greed, and the love of money, and so on. So that's pretty much the interpretation. I have alluded to some of the scriptures in the interpretation of this dream. All you have to do is read through prophecy in scriptures, the Old Testament prophets in the Gospels or in the book of Revelation, to find more that will line up with this dream, to tell you this dream is without a doubt from the Father. I think I had it when I did, because at that time, in Israel, the Sanhedrin was dedicating the altar at the end of Hanukkah and had invited other countries' heads of states to be witness to it. This, along with the peace plan division of the land agreement, is going to in part cause God's hand to move, and the rapture of the bride event is about to occur. So, if you do not know Jesus, all you have to do is believe with all your heart that he did die on the cross for you and was raised 3 days later. Confess with your mouth, according to Romans 10:9, and make him Lord of your life. Ask him to send you the Holy Spirit to help you follow him. Talk to him. Read about him in the Bible while you still can. Tell him you want to get to know him. He will show up, and he will not disappoint if you are sincere. So, okay, that's going to be it for this one. Kind of a short one. I might have another one in a day or so. And then another one after that I'm working on. It's going to be another study on, it's more involved. It's on prophecy happening now. Should be some fun. Anyway, I appreciate all of you who watch, and as always, I keep you all lifted up in prayer. Thanks for watching. To Jehovah be all glory and honor and praise. Love you all. Bye for now.